back. Looks good. I think it sounds good. So now I'm just waiting on you. As you join, just type in the chat where you're joining from, your city and state. As you come in, please type in the comment section where you're joining from, your city and your state. That will help me out tremendously. I like to know who I'm talking to, around and about who I'm talking to. Happy Thursday evening to each and every one of you. Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday. As you join us tonight, please type in the chat where you're joining from, your city and state. Type in your city and state where you're joining in from this evening. I hope you've had dinner. I hope you've had some time with your family. I hope you've loved on your loved one. They may be in the bed, they may not be in the bed. You might have some night owls. I don't know. I know one thing, y'all better have some routines. I know that because having a routine is so very key for the person living with dementia, but also for the caregiver. As you pop in, type in the chat, please, where you're joining from, your city and state. I'm here in Columbia, South Carolina, where the weather is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. 40s in the morning, 70s in the afternoon, something to give you pleurisy. I'm from the country. You know, my grandmama would say pleurisy. I don't even know how to spell that. I don't even know if that's a real thing. But when that weather changes like that, you can get pleurisy. So type in the chat where you're joining from, your city and state, please. And we'll get started talking about 6 steps to reduce your risk of developing dementia. It's simple with an E. SEMPLE. We're going to go through those. And then I want to hear from you. I want to know what you've been experiencing this week. Did you have a good week? Did you have a not so good week? What were some of those challenges providing care? I'm here for you. I'm always excited to jump on and come on and talk with you about what you got going on and try to help you just a little bit along your journey. So, let's talk about 6 ways to reduce your risk of developing a progressive type of dementia. And I say a progressive type of dementia because there are dementias that are considered pseudo dementia or faux dementia or reversible dementia. That's dementia that's caused by something that can be treated. And we can talk about that at a different time. But tonight I want to talk about reducing your risk, and then I want to get to your questions. Reducing your risk for developing dementia is simple with an E, right? The first S, you want to reduce stress as much as possible, and you want to get enough sleep. Now, I didn't say you want to eliminate stress because that's impossible, especially as women. No shade to your brothers, but women are natural nurturers. So we take care of us, them, and everybody else's, right? So you want to try to reduce your stress as much as possible by managing it well. You're going to experience stressful situations. You're going to go through stressful times, but you have to develop a healthy way to manage your stressors the way you can best handle it. You don't need to do what somebody else is doing because that might work for them, that might not work for you. But stress is a contributing factor to developing a progressive type of dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease. Sleep. Do you know how many hours of sleep adults should get every night? Anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Even during the day, if you have a job and you work at night, so you have to get most of your rest during the day, that's fine. But you still want to get anywhere from 7 to 8 hours of sleep per day. Because what happens is as you're going about your day, your brain is sustaining superficial damage, right? But when you go to sleep and you get good sleep, then your brain is repairing the damage from the day. If you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep, then you've cut your brain rejuvenation short. So you may be operating off of diminished brain cells that particular day. And the more you do that, the more you increase your risk of developing a progressive type of dementia. So you want to get enough sleep and you want to reduce your stress or manage your stress as best as possible. And that's what works for you. You have to come up with some stress management strategies such as breathing, yoga, exercising. You want to practice mindfulness, and that's when you shut it down. I mean, you shut it all down. No radio, no television, no kids, no husband, no wives, and you just are in the moment. You're just being in the moment. You may hear the leaves rustling. You may hear the birds chirping. That's what you want to hear. That's mindfulness. Just not thinking about anything, just giving your brain a rest, giving your brain a break. Do you ever not feel like thinking? Or is it just me? I think all the time. I read all the time. Sometimes I don't want to think. I don't want to read. I don't want to learn. I just want to be. So you want to have that opportunity to just be. It may be that you be away from home. You may go on a staycation. And that's when you don't go on a long trip away. You may go up the street and get a hotel room and practice mindfulness so that way you can be with yourself, fall in love with yourself all over again. Because remember, it's simple with an E. E, that's eating well and exercising. Eating well. I do not believe in dieting. I don't, because when you diet, you're restricting yourself. And when you restrict yourself, when it's time to indulge, you're going to overindulge because you've restricted yourself from, I don't know, salty foods, or you've restricted yourself from sweet foods. And so when you have an opportunity to eat it, in your mind you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to eat it today. You may overindulge, and that that defeats the purpose of what you just did. That's contraindicated. So you don't want to diet. You want to practice healthy eating. You want to maintain a healthy meal plan. It's cognitive, something that you can do, right? Um, I love coffee. I drink coffee in the morning, at night, whenever I feel like it. Don't worry, it's decaf. But I like it with a lot of cream and a lot of sugar. But I know that's not healthy for me. And so I know I'm still going to drink coffee. And so now I don't put as much sugar in it, and I use more creamer than sugar so that way I can cut back on the sugar. That works for me. So you want to maintain a healthy meal plan. You want to reduce your intake of processed foods such as bacon, those deli meats. You want to reduce your eating of high salt foods, highly processed foods. When you go in the grocery store, that middle section should be off limits because that's the stuff that's been on the shelf for years. How many of y'all eat corned beef hash? I used to love me some corned beef hash. But when you think I haven't eaten corned beef hash and I know about 10 years. Let's think about it. Corned beef hash, that's meat. That meat has been in that can for several years. Look at the expiration date. When you go in the grocery store, look at the expiration date on that corned beef hash. It's probably several years from now. Now, what meat can you leave out of the refrigerator that long? Not healthy. You want to ensure that you have fresh fruit, fresh vegetables in your diet plan. Again, it has to be manageable for you. You want to be sure to exercise. Now, when I say exercise, I don't mean like boxing. I don't mean, that highly intense, rigorous exercising. Because let's be honest, as we get older, we can't do all of that. I don't even like to exercise. But I am active and I do a little something something every day. I'm consistent with it, except Saturday and Sunday. But studies support that you're supposed to exercise or stay active where your heart rate is up 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. What that looks like for you is for you. Figure out how you can stay active at least 5 days a week. That could be walking, that could be gardening, it could be swimming, go to the mall and walk around. You want to be sure that you're staying active. When you stay active, you are maintaining a healthy lifestyle. You're healthy physically, you're healthy mentally, you're clear cognitively. So you want to make that a part of your daily routine. We know now that you can reduce your risk of developing a progressive type of dementia by maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So, what's more of a risk factor is how you live your life than who you were born to. So, genetics and heredity is 1 to 2% of the risk factor. Lifestyle is more of a risk factor. So, we're keeping it simple, right? So, now we're on M. You want to manage your medications and you want to manage your comorbid or co-occurring medical conditions. Medications can fight against each other, especially if they don't agree with each other, and it could cause memory loss. It could cause confusion. It could cause disorientation. And what I don't want you to think that if your loved one is experiencing confusion and memory loss and forgetfulness that they automatically have dementia. It could be because they're having some issues with their medications. A lot of our seniors have more than one doctor. They have a doctor as their primary care doctor. They have a specialist for their urinary tract issues. So they may have a urologist, they may have an oncologist, they may have a gastrologist. So gastroenterologist. So they have all these different doctors prescribing different medications, but no one is reconciling those medications to make sure that they're not harmful to each other, ultimately harming the person. So you want to be sure that you and your loved one, all the medications that they're taking, including over the counter medications, that the primary care doctor is aware of it. And the primary care doctor can say whether or not those medications are fighting against each other. Also, the pharmacist can tell you if the medications are fighting against each other. So that's called a medication reconciliation. You want to do that for you as a caregiver, but you also want to do that for your loved one who's experiencing memory loss or forgetfulness. Managing your comorbid or co-occurring conditions, your chronic illnesses. High blood pressure is a chronic illness. High blood pressure, if not treated, can lead to Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. So you want to be sure that your pressure is where it needs to be for you. Now, everybody's pressure is not the same. Now, the American Heart Association says it should be 120 over 80. My blood pressure ain't never been 120 over 80. It's never been 120 over 80. So for me, what's normal for me is low 130s, high 80s. That's what works for me. And the reason I know that works for me is because I have a record of it with my primary care practice. So you want to be sure that your loved one sees one doctor for their primary care doctor, and all the specialists are talking to that primary care doctor. You, as a caregiver, may have to be the intermediary to ensure and the liaison to ensure that the primary care doctor has all these medications that these specialists are prescribing to ensure that they're not fighting against each other. You want to be sure that your blood pressure is where it needs to be, your cholesterol is where it needs to be, so that way it reduces your risk of developing other co-occurring conditions that increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Obesity, if you're overweight, that increases your risk. If you are dealing with diabetes, you want to be sure to get that in control. You want to be sure to have what you need in order to manage it as best as possible. That could be with medications, that could be with insulin, it could be with diet, right? And I don't mean diet like you're going to diet. I mean like your meal plan, what you're eating. So be sure that your diabetes are managed, because it can increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's or progressive type of dementia. So we went to SEM because we're keeping it simple, right? But with an E. P, play games. I don't mean mind games. I don't need y'all playing mind games with anybody. But you want to play games against the clock. When you play games against the clock, you are building a cognitive reserve. You're working those neurons. If those neurons and those neurotransmitters are not working, then they die out, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. That's with your brain as well, right? So you want to play games against the clock. You want to play musical instruments. If you know how to play the piano, or if you know how to play the guitar, play that, right? Learn to play a new instrument as well. That keeps your mind going. It keeps you engaged. It keeps those neurons firing off. And also, too, when you play music, music makes you feel good, right? And when you're playing, the piano, and you're playing these songs and the keyboard, it's making you feel good, right? So you're actually addressing several components of your overall well-being, right? It's making you feel good. So you're tapping into your emotion. It's tapping into your behavior, because you're smiling, you're engaging with other people. You're getting into it because you're doing this, or you're doing that. So you're physical, right? And cognitively, you got to remember how to do this stuff. And so when you're playing music instruments, then and playing games against the clock, you are engaging your full well-being, which can reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's or progressive type of dementia. We're keeping it simple, right? All right. L, lifelong learning. You have to be a lifelong learner, which means you don't stop learning because you've graduated from school, you've obtained your degree. That's not where it stops. Actually, that's where it starts, because you want to continue to engage your brain. You want to continue to learn new information. Again, it's firing off those neurons. You're building a cognitive reserve. So if you were to develop Alzheimer's, then you could stave off or severely delay dementia, because you have developed a cognitive reserve, because you have been engaging your brain. And lastly, keeping it simple, right, with an E, engagement, social engagement. You want to be sure that you're staying engaged with other people. I know that you can play games and talk to people and engage with people online through social media and things of that nature. That's good, but that ain't good enough. You want to be sure to stay socially engaged with other people. We are social beings. We are beings with feelings and emotions, right? And so we want to be able to give that, but we also want to be able to receive that, right? And so, again, you want to be sure that you're engaging the full domain of your well being. That is your emotional health, that's your cognitive health, that's your behavior, right? You also want to ensure that you are at the point where you know that who you're around and what you're doing is not stressing you out. Because if you're socially engaged with people and they're getting on your nerves and they're stressing you out, that's counterintuitive. That's defeating the purpose of, why you're in their presence anyway, right? So we're talking mind, body, behavior, emotions, the four domains of your overall well being. That is how you can effectively reduce your risk of developing dementia or Alzheimer's disease. I'll tell you, I have had a lot of caregivers say to me, not men, but women caregivers say to me, am I going to get Alzheimer's disease because I'm taking care of my mom or I'm taking care of my dad. I've read where if you take care of somebody with Alzheimer's, then you're probably going to get it too. Have y'all heard that? Let me know in the chat if y'all have heard that. I have to explain to people simply because you're caring for someone with dementia does not mean that you're going to get it. What's happening is you're not taking care of yourself while you're taking care of that person with dementia. So you're increasing your stress levels. You're not going to the doctor taking care of that nagging pain that you had in your chest that you chalking it up as, a heartburn, but it's really not heartburn. You're on the way to congestive heart failure, but you can't leave mama for 2 hours to go take care of yourself. Now you gonna die before your mama does. What we know now, y'all, is about 35% of family caregivers actually pass away before the person with Alzheimer's or dementia. That is because that's not because they're taking care of the person. It's because what they're doing or the lack thereof while they're taking care of their loved one. Now you've said all your life that you're gonna make sure your mom is taken care of, you're gonna make sure your daddy's taken care of. But how you gonna take care of them if you're not taking care of yourself? It's impossible. Not gonna happen. So that's what increases a caregiver's risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, not simply again because you're taking care of somebody with Alzheimer's. It's not going to jump off them and jump on you. It's because you're not taking care of yourself. So you want to be sure to do that. If you guys have any questions as you're coming into the chat, pop them into the chat. Let me know where you're joining from. If you can drop in your city and your state, I'd love to know where you're joining from. I'd love to know what questions you have, what concerns you have, how your week has been going. If you are not a member of the channel yet, I advise you to become a member of the channel. Just click the join button. When you join, you have access to exclusive training videos, exclusive interviews, longer versions of shorts that I post on my channel, longer versions of videos that I post on my channel. These are things that you're going to need in order to help support you along your journey. There are different levels that you can actually tap into. In fact, at 6:30, I had a private group session. Just one person in there. It was me and that person. I'm answering their questions. I'm giving them specific, individualized, personalized advice and recommendations on their situation as a dementia caregiver. So click the join button and choose whatever level fits you and what your needs are. I'm here to help. I'll be going live often. If you join it at the private membership level, I'll be communicating with you in your post tab. So make sure, even if you're not a private membership member, you're a Live Talks member, go to your post tab. That's where I post a lot of information for members. You are a member. You would become a member, so you get access to um, early videos before the public gets them. You'll have access to longer videos, longer interviews that I do talking about the dementia care journey. You'll have early response to any questions that you pop into the chat as a member. So definitely think about becoming a member so that way you can have the support that you need as you journey along this path, because it can be lonely, it can be challenging. I've had people say to me, I just feel alone. I don't know where to turn. And that tugs at my heartstrings. I say, come on over to YouTube. Come on over to YouTube. Because not only will you learn from me, I'm going to learn from you. And you're also going to learn from other dementia caregivers that are in this chat and in this live stream with us tonight. It takes community. When we talk about the type of support that dementia caregivers need to support the person living with dementia, insurance does not cover that. Medicare does not cover that. Medicaid does not cover that. Private insurance does not cover that. We got to cover that. So we got us. And so that's what I'm hoping to build here with community. So pop in the chat where you're joining from, and if you have any questions, I want to hear from you. This is the time in our live stream where I hear from you, and I can provide you with whatever support I think you need or that I have at my fingertips, that can help you along your journey. If you have concerns with hearing me or seeing me, let me know so that I can try to make some modifications. I did have to end a previous live stream and come on this one because I first of all, I didn't know what I was doing. How about that? I did a third party live stream. I hope this was better than last week. I don't know, but we're gonna try a couple different things. But just whenever you see the live pop up, I'm in here and I want you in here with me. So click the notification button, click the notification bell so that way you know when I go live so you can pop on in here with me. Also, too, I want to let you know tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon, I'm doing a luncheon live where I'm going to answer 5 questions. So pop into the live. If you can, tell somebody. If you can't, pop into the live 12 o'clock tomorrow, Friday, where I'm answering 5 questions. Okay. Washington, D.C. is in the building. I love Washington. Mansfield, Texas. You know, I've never been in Texas. So I'm going to have to get out there, hopefully. All right. So the question is, my mom started to show dementia symptoms after my dad, her husband, died. Can depression cause dementia? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Thank you for asking your question. So I'll tell you this. Depression looks just like dementia on someone over the age of 65. So I don't know if you all were ever told this, but I know growing up, I was taught that as you get older, you're going to get a little bit of dementia. Well, you can't get a little bit of dementia because you can't be a little bit pregnant, can you? Okay. You can't have a little bit of dementia. What they're saying is you may have mild cognitive impairment or you may be experiencing early stages of dementia, but that's not the case. Simply because you get, although age is the number one risk factor, simply because you're getting older does not mean that you're going to get it. There are more people over the age of 65 who don't have dementia than who do. So yes, depression looks just like dementia. What the doctor can do is a depression scale and a depression assessment. You would think that the doctor would do that automatically. They don't. But if you ask for it, they will. Doc, can you do a depression assessment to determine if my mom is dealing with depression more so than dementia? Because depression can be treated. A progressive type of dementia cannot. You can treat the symptoms for a certain period of time, but eventually those medications are not going to be effective. So, depression, if not treated, does increase one's risk of developing dementia. So, by you telling me that you started seeing these symptoms after your dad passed away, tells me that was a trigger. That was a trigger. So, what happened before you started seeing these symptoms? Dad died, right? So that's something that you want to talk to the doctor about. Again, depression can be treated. It can be treated with lifestyle changes. So it may be that, I don't know if she lives alone or not. It may be that you guys come over more often, take her out more often, send her letters, get her on Facebook. So my mama is on Facebook, and y'all know how sometimes when Facebook gets to acting up or goes down or something, and just give it a minute to come back up, you would think that it's the end of the world. She can't even function. Like she can't even come here and clean up like I like for her to do. If Facebook is down, she can't function, but it keeps her engaged, right? And so you may try to use technology to keep them engaged. You may even try a low dose of an anti-depression medication, but you want to get that from the doctor. You don't want to get any medication over the counter. I know that there are a lot of natural um, products out there and medications. I can't say yes or no because number one, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to provide any medical advice. But what I will say is, you don't want to put anything in your body without the primary care doctor knowing about it because it could interfere with other medications you're taking. It could interfere with other conditions you have. And, it's a lot of stuff online, on TikTok shop, on Facebook that says heal this, treat this, heal that. But when you get the package, it say call your doctor. That's what you need to do. Call your doctor before you put anything in your mouth or on your skin. Salves are the same thing. Those ointments, that's medication. Sometimes people may take sleep medications, over the counter sleep medications. That is a huge no for someone over the age of 65. And to be honest, under 65, what we know now and what research is supporting is that if you take what we call benzos, they're benzodiazepines, medications for to help you go to sleep, if you've been taking them for quite some time, that increases your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. So if you're on benzos, and I'm just saying it like it is because I keep it real up in here because ain't no time for sugarcoating nothing. If you are taking medications to help you go to sleep at night, and they are part of the benzodiazepines, the benzos class, talk with your doctor about it. You want to start to try to wean off of that because it is increasing your risk of developing dementia. Again, what I said earlier, what's more of a risk factor is your lifestyle, not who you were born to. So you're saying she does live alone. So that first I would, and this is just me. You can do whatever you like to do, but I'm just throwing out a couple of recommendations. I would start engaging her more. I would start trying to go over there, taking her out, ensuring that she's doing the stuff that she loves to do. Stop telling her what she can't do and what she shouldn't do and what she not going to do. Just try to engage her. And then I would also ask if you could accompany her to her doctor's appointment so that way she can have a second set of ears, right? And then when you get there, if I don't know if she's okay with you talking to the doctor in front of her or while she's there. If so, ask the doctor to do a depression screening because you've seen some symptoms since, your dad died. If she don't want you back there with her, you can always talk to the nurse. You can always call the doctor. Now, the doctor may not be able to tell you anything if you're not on the HIPAA form, which I advise everybody to be on their loved one's HIPAA form at the doctor's office. I advise each of you to get on their electronic health record. Most doctor's office now have access to an electronic health record where you set up login information to access their medical records digitally and virtually. You can also communicate with the doctor virtually. So you'll be communicating as the person, but your loved one is going to give you you're going to set up the username and password with your loved ones, and they're going to give you permission to look at their medical chart because they have to give you permission to look at their medical chart. You can communicate with the doctor that way and you can see what's going on. So it just depends on your loved one and how amenable they are to you actually being in there with the doctor and communicating with them. If not, we got to do it. I don't like to say sneaky, but it has to be stealth, right? It definitely does. So that way you can ensure that they're getting what they need while not offending them. Okay. So it's been 8 years. Yeah. If it's been 8 years, and you've tried all of the non-pharmacological things, I would definitely have the doctor do a depression screening on her because the doctor may be able to give her a low dosage of an antidepressant. And you want to be sure that it is a low dose too, and that you monitor it and make sure that there are no behavior changes, and that she's not getting worse, that she's getting better. Um, Again, I definitely, there you can treat depression. But again, if it's not treated and it goes for an expanded period of time, it most certainly could increase her risk of developing a progressive type of dementia. All right. And when we come back next week, did I just commit to next week? I think I did just commit to next week. When I come back in the next couple weeks. Or you could send me a message. I want to know how it went. Give you some time to get to the doctor and get that screening done in a couple of weeks. Then when we come back, I want to know how it went. If you want to, again, look at that join button to see what level that you want to join in, what fits your needs at the time. You don't have to stay in that level, but if you want to get in that level for a certain spend of time, so that way we can work on specific things, do that so we can, try to get to the bottom of it, and I can try to get you as much support as I can give you, and also referrals and resources. All right. My mom is taking care of my dad now, who has dementia. My siblings and I live out of state. We want them to move closer to us so we can help. How would moving affect his dementia? Thank you so much for asking that question. So, everybody is different. I don't know what stage he's in the dementia cycle, but what I would recommend is to try some overnight visits. Start with maybe a weekend, couple of nights, then do a week, then do a couple of weeks, then do a month, right? You want to do that probably sooner than later. If you're looking at a move, you want to initiate the move when they have the capacity to make some level of decision in the process. And also so that way they can have some familiarity with what changes are happening in their environment. But Again, it just depends on the person. Some people do well with change of scenery, even with dementia. A lot don't. It just depends on the person, but I would try small steps first just to see how that goes. Any other questions? I have some great questions tonight. I appreciate that. So again, look at the join button, and I'd love for you to join the channel at whatever level you feel most comfortable. If you don't feel the need to join, you still, have access to my videos, comments. I try to respond to everybody's comments. I'll do these live streams regularly throughout the month. Just make sure your notifications are turned on. Click that notification button so that way you know when I go live. So that way you can be sure to be in the room. I'm gonna be here. I want you here. I want your questions. I want your concerns. I want your comments. I want to be able to build you up. I want to be able to give you hope because I definitely see you. We got us. I got you. You got me. We got us. Right. So I appreciate you guys chiming in tonight. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me and talk to us, other dementia caregivers that are on the line, to be able to build community. Throughout this caregiving journey, because again, it's not going to be easy, but I want you to celebrate the moments. I want you to celebrate the beautiful moments. If you're constantly worried about and concerned about the disease, then you're missing out on the moments. And sometimes you're not going to get those moments back. And so there are going to be moments of lucidity. So I want y'all to be aware of that. As the disease progresses, there are going to be many moments of lucidity. So you don't want to miss out on the moments by focusing on the disease. Focus on the person so that way you can continue to have that that social connection, that emotional connection to that person, even if they no longer remember your name, even if they no longer remember the relationship that they have with you or the relationship to them, they know you love them and they know, they love you, right? So just be mindful of that in those moments. You can ask so many questions. Okay, well, just click on those notifications. I will ask you all though, write questions down. Write your questions down so that way when we do come back on the live stream, you can be ready to go fire them things out. Because I guarantee you the same question you have, three or four other dementia caregivers have the same questions. And so when I'm answering your question, I'm answering several other people's questions too. So write those questions down. I'm actually going to put my email address in the chat. It's info@dtconsultant.org. If you want to email me your questions, do that as well. I don't mind. Email the questions. You can go to the post tab and drop a question there. Make sure when you become a member, make sure that you're checking your post tab. So that way, when I'm sending you posts, when I'm dropping new videos, when I'm dropping new training, when I'm dropping new interviews, you'll have access to the full interview. You have access to the full training that you can always refer back to and share with other family members. Because y'all know y'all got some family members who don't believe that it's as bad as what you say it is, right? hmm Let me be the bad guy. You don't have to be the bad guy. Let me be the bad guy. Just say, send them text them the link and say, click on this for me. That may help, right? I don't mind being the bad guy at all. If it's going to help you as a caregiver and it's ultimately going to help the person who's living with Alzheimer's disease. Okay. So, again, look at the join button, see if you want to join at any level so you can have access to videos before the public. You'll have access to member only chats. You'll have first responses to your questions when we do the live stream as a member. You'll also have an opportunity to have one-on-ones with me in a private group session. So I look forward to seeing you back in a couple of weeks when we go live again. Make sure your notifications are highlighted so that way you'll know when I go live. I'll be here and I want you to be here too. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks.